and shout out Jordan Peterson. And thank you very much, sir, for all that you have done to help educate, expand, and inform the minds of millions and millions of people all over the globe. Not just in terms of politics, but religion, governance, and freedom of speech. You have definitely helped spark a tremendous amount of dialogue, discussion, and debate regarding these very important topics. And I, for one, am greatly appreciative that you did. And I'm definitely looking forward to getting your next book to complement 12 Rules for Life, which was an excellent read, I'll add. Headline out of the Foundation for Economic Education, why Jordan Peterson's new book couldn't be more timely. The message of Jordan Peterson's Beyond Order should make us rethink the lockdowns. It's reported by Patrick Carroll, November 27th, 2020. Jordan Peterson has had a pretty rough year, having spent most of it crisscrossing the globe seeking treatment for a severe health issue. But to the relief of his many fans around the world, he's on the road to recovery, thanks to his family's relentless support and his own unwavering determination to take responsibility for his life. On Monday, he took another big step back into the spotlight as he announced the release of his latest book, Beyond Order. Written as a sequel to his best-selling book, 12 Rules for Life, Beyond Order offers a second set of 12 rules, this time focusing on the problems associated with excessive rigidity. Oh, this is going to be so great, folks, because even though I haven't had the chance to read this novel as of yet, I definitely already see, or at least understand, where he's going to be going with this. Because that's the problem that libertarians like myself have been pointing out for years when you're talking about that left-right divide, right? And yeah, it not just psychological, but we're definitely talking about how it influences people in terms of the political realm, right? Is you're either a lefty or a righty, right? But that's the thing. No. Like I say, I've said and suggested so many times before, the reason why a libertarian gets attacked by both sides of the equation or political divide is because I can fall or align with either side. Really, at the end of the day, my allegiance to the left or right completely aligns or coordinates with, are you promoting freedom, right? And personal responsibility? Or are you promoting collectivism or authoritarianism, groupthink? If you are, then that's the furthest thing, or the furthest things removed from personal freedom, individual liberty, and the sovereignty of the individual. So like I say, whether it comes from the left or the right, authoritarian mommy, authoritarian daddy, right? The feminine, the masculine, the yin and the yang. Like I say, these binaries. And listen, we all understand that these binaries definitely exist, and for good reason. Because humans are binary, right? We are male and female. Even though a lot of people try to suggest or pretend that there are more than two sexes on this planet. What it is no, there's only two sexes. But when it comes to concepts in the mind, or what aspect or areas of the mind we use, there's all kinds of gray areas in between, right? That's the thing. That's the thing. That's the important point that needs to be talked about. But not that we should just accept the fact that there's infinitely variable genders or sexes. No, that's not what it's supposed to be about. Like I say, that's why these discussions need to take place in a proper manner, where you have people from multiple backgrounds and perspectives countering each other and battling out over the ideas on what this all means. That's what needs to take place, rather than everyone fucking run to their political perspective or corners and playing the tribalist or groupthink scenario or narrative. That's not going to work out to be conducive or beneficial to anyone other than those who align with you, right? If you want something that's conducive and beneficial for everyone, then once again, that means we all have to sit down and actually talk about and discuss what all these concepts even mean, how they affect us as individuals, and in particular, what it means when government gets involved with this stuff. Unlike my previous book, Beyond Order explores as its overarching theme how the dangers of too much security and control might be profitably avoided, he says, right? Just like you can be too left, well, you can definitely be too right, right? Too much rigidity and control. Although that's one thing I will say today. It seems like the left is now the modern right. That's the crazy thing in this modern Orwellian world, is like everything's upside down, inside out, and backwards these days. While 12 Rules for Life was put forward as an antidote to chaos, Beyond Order is designed to highlight the flip side of the archetypal landscape. This is a critical perspective because it exposes the reality that order is not unconditionally good. Oh, I definitely agree with that one. Order can mean security and stability, but it can also mean tyranny and deadening uniformity. Chaos may present danger and uncertainty, but it can also be a source of potential, innovation, and renewal. Oh, so well said. As Peterson says, all states of order, no matter how secure and comfortable, have their flaws. In light of this, we need to move beyond order and actively seek out a degree of chaos. As he says elsewhere, an orderly structure has to allow an element of chaos into it in order to become something new and even to maintain its own survival, because things have to become something new as they move forward through time. What this sounds like and is resonating with me is, Jordan Peterson, as well as the author of this article, recognized that libertarianism, that is the future. Well, at least if freedom and liberty is still the core focus of Western societies going forward. Hence, tipping his hat to the yin-yang symbol with the color scheme, Peterson's goal with this book is to remind us that well-being is best fostered by pursuing a healthy balance of chaos and order, rather than indulging an unhealthy obsession with either extreme. Exactly. The dangers of excessive order. As part of his announcement, Peterson also highlighted some intriguing cultural and political implications of his philosophy. The order we strive to impose on the world can rigidify as a consequence of ill-advised attempts to eradicate from consideration all that is unknown, Peterson writes. When such attempts go too far, totalitarianism threatens, driven by the desire to exercise full control, where such control is not possible, even in principle. The COVID-19 outbreak, the fact that many conservative governments are in positions of power of authority in the West these days, and the reaction to the outbreak in terms of the lockdowns, mask mandates, and potential vaccine mandates clearly illustrates that. As Peterson explains in one of his personality lectures, the tendency to take order too far likely has its roots in human biology. More specifically, it arises from distrust sensitivity and the need to preserve cleanliness in our environments. According to one influential paper on this idea, high levels of infection may lead to ethnocentrism, xenophobia, distrust of different others, and conformity, because such behaviors will reduce the likelihood of exposure to unfamiliar infections to which immunity has not been developed. In archetypal terms, we cling to order and cleanliness because it keeps us safe from that which is strange and different. But Peterson points out some even more striking implications of this idea. Concerns about cleanliness and feelings of disgust have likewise been related to political attitudes. Regions with higher levels of disease prevalence tend to be associated with higher levels of social conformity and autocratic rule. As another significant paper puts it, authoritarian governments are more likely to emerge in regions characterized by a high prevalence of disease-causing pathogens. While we don't know yet if Beyond Order specifically addresses the lockdowns, the relevance is clear. Sadly yet predictably, these excesses of order are exactly what we've seen in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. From business shutdowns to closed borders to gathering limits, people are more isolated than ever, and it's all being done in the name of cleanliness. But the ideology of cleanliness is a fragmentary mythology because it only presents half of the archetype, namely the positive side of order and the negative side of chaos. In reality, the other side of the story is just as important, that striving for sterility can go overboard. Unfortunately, the desire to control our neighbors and dictate their choices reflects a worldview in which the drawbacks of order are considered less consequential than the drawbacks of chaos. This paradigm may be alluring, especially in times of crisis, but for society to truly prosper, it needs to be called into question. So while we may be tempted to embrace central planning or even socialism as a source of safety and stability, we need to recognize that such despotic authoritarian systems are the embodiment of excessive order. Economists have been talking about this idea for a long time, and many of them have pointed out that the desire to exercise full control is one of the chief barriers to prosperity. Ludwig von Mises is one such economist, and in his treatise Human Action, which I definitely highly recommend, by the way, definitely check that out. And as you can see, that highlighted red text means that you have a link straight to it. So no excuse, folks, definitely check that out. He draws attention to the problems of trying to impose a rigid, overarching plan for the economy. It is customary nowadays to speak of social engineering. Like planning, this term is a synonym for dictatorship and totalitarian tyranny. The idea is to treat human beings in the same way in which the engineer treats the stuff out of which he builds his bridges, roads, and machines. The social engineer's will is to be substituted for the will of the various people he plans to use for the construction of his utopia. Mankind is to be divided into two classes, the almighty dictator on the one hand, and the underlings who are to be reduced to the status of mere pawns in his plans and cogs in his machinery on the other. If this were feasible, then of course the social engineer would not have to bother about understanding other people's actions. He would be free to deal with them as technology deals with lumber and iron. That's the beauty about Austrian economics and understanding human action and human psychology is, we're not all just cogs in machinery, right? That's the thing about humans. We're all individualistic with our own minds that think about these issues in a multitude of ways and form our own opinions and perspectives based on that, which means no central planner can ever create a one-size-fits-all. It's impossible. And the attempt to do so is destruction of freedom and liberty and humanity itself. Mises' point is that the economy should not be viewed as a machine that we can control or direct. It is much more akin to an ecosystem that flourishes best when left to its own devices. Adam Smith, The Invisible Hand, the power of the free market. So now more than ever, as lockdowns and mandates overshadow nearly every aspect of our lives, we need to be wary of clinging to order, control, and security too tightly. Hopefully Peterson's new book will bring that message to light. Patrick Carroll has a degree in chemical engineering from the University of Waterloo and is a Eugene S. Thorpe Writing Fellow at the Foundation for Economic Education. And thank you, Patrick Carroll, for putting out this great, well-articulated article in FEE. And thanks to those of you who have watched this and will hopefully be kind enough to share it as well. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.